welcome to episode 124.5 of Big Red Barrel Geek Speak, a place for all your nerdy needs on BigRedBarel.com. My name is Alex, and I'm the host for this episode. Now, for those of you who've been listening to Geek Speak for a while, you know that 0.5 means that we have a very special episode. And I'm particularly very excited because we have a guest, an actress, voice actress, founder of Calais, and a general wonderful human being, Alix Wilton Regan.
That's such a beautiful introduction.
Aww.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
That's one of the loveliest introductions I've ever had. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yay, it's all true as well.
Thank you. And it's a 0.5 episode. Is that what it means then?
Yeah. So when we do interviews,
Amazing.
We do 2.5 because then it makes it just that much a bit special. And then listeners also know that it's not just the three of us blabbling along for the episode, that it's something extra.
Brilliant. Well, I'm happy to be here, so thank you for having me.
Yay! So, for those of you who might not know, Alex has done a lot of voice work, and if you've been listening to me blabble on for 3 years on Geek Speak, you know she's been an Inquisitor. She's been my Inquisitor for Dragon Age Inquisition, and also Traynor, Mass Effect Andromeda in Divinity Original Sin, and lately as I on Assassin's Creed Origins.
Yes, exactly. This is all true.
Before we begin, I wanted to start with the little story. I briefly met you, and this is not to guilt you, not remembering me. It's not something like that. But I thought it was quite funny, and we told it on the podcast before. And I thought I'll retell you. It will either fall completely and horribly flat, or it will possibly be funny.
Go on.
So I can't remember. It was 2015 or 2016 BAFTAs.
Yes.
And then me and my friend, we were we were doing the interviews post the presentations. And when I say me and my friend, I mean Lauren, the co-host. She was doing the interviews and all the hard work, and I was sitting in the background watching the ceremony and drinking wine.
Brilliant.
And then afterwards, we got the tickets to the after party, so we went, and then we switched around. Lauren was drinking wine, and I think I knew you were coming because I was following you on Twitter, and I briefly saw that. And then I think I saw you coming in and out of there, and I went to the party, and I was like, I really want to come say hello, and because I've played this game for so long, I just want to say hi. And there comes a moment where you want to do something, but you overthink it so much in your head, you paralyze yourself into thinking you can't do it anymore.
Yeah. So what? So you didn't do it?
No, I did. But
you did. Okay.
It's the important part of it is that I think me being on the edge. I should do it. No, I shouldn't do it. I should do it. Oh, I can't decide what to do it. I think it drove Lauren a little bit mad because she was like, "Oh my god, grow a freaking spine. Just go and say hello."
Lauren was like, "Alex, you take the interview." No, really, you take the interview. You do the interview. No, Alex, it's your interview. You take it.
Yeah. Another thing to add, that because she was working really hard, she was drinking, so she was a little bit merry. And she was like, okay, look, whatever. We'll see her. I'll come. I'll speak to her first. I'll introduce you. And you're kind of like, oh no. This is the kind of things friends do when they think they're helping out. In your head, you're going, thank you, but this is so embarrassing for me. And I was like, okay, so how does she look? Because she didn't know. And I was like, well, she's a lady with blonde hair and in a long red dress. And she's like, okay, fine. The room is very dark in the after party. That's another thing to know. Yes. It's an important part of this story. So we're waiting there, and I go I think that might be her. And the next thing that happens is, in cartoons and Bugs Bunny or something, when someone moves really fast, the only thing that is left is a outline of them in the clouds where they used to be, but they're gone because they disappeared so fast. That was Lauren. 1 second she was there, and the next second she was next to this lady saying something to her. So I ran out to her, we talk, we take a picture, it was really nice. Then I take Lauren to the side and I'm like, Lauren, that's not her. That's the lady from Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
That's so funny. That is brilliant.
And Lauren's like, are you sure? I'm like, yes, because that's Alix Wilton Regan there.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Please tell me you came over and said hello.
I did. And I think she ran off again, and I came, and I think I blabbled something embarrassing, but you were super lovely. We took a picture, but
oh, bless. No, I think I remember it now because not that many people actually take pictures there. So you tend to remember the people who do. So I think I do remember meeting you ladies actually. And I think it was with both of you, wasn't it?
Probably. I only remember my picture because that's the only thing I cared about. So.
Well, I'm very glad that you did come over and say hello, and I think that's hilarious. That also that Lauren initiated this entire conversation with the wrong person is just brilliant.
I know, bless her. Wonderful. I don't even know what she told her, but I don't think she said anything to name. She just said my friend really likes your work or something, which in the hindsight, this was good.
You got out of that one. You got out of that one.
Yeah. But luckily for me, I played Assassin's Creed Syndicate at that point as well, so it wasn't like I was not happy to meet the other person. I was just a bit embarrassed that she got the wrong one.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, do many people recognize you? Like, because I know, especially in the video game industry, because, they know your voice and you've been in so many different games, so do other video game nerds come up to you during the events like this?
Sometimes. I mean, I'm definitely not at the point where I'm getting stopped in the street or anything like that. But if I'm at a convention or maybe an event or something like that, then yeah, they will. And it's always really nice to meet people. So if anyone's ever listening to this and, feels like a chat, if they spot me in public, please come on over and say hi, because I really like it. In fact, I was on the tube yesterday and I was going home and I saw a guy wearing an N7 jumper. I want to talk to him and be like, hey, you don't know me, but I worked on the N7 and you like the N7. Maybe we should talk briefly.
I think he would have made his day, to be honest.
unless he was like completely not into Samantha Traynor, in which case he would not have cared whatsoever and been like, all right, chum, jog on. So that was quite funny. But no, I love meeting people. Of course I do. It's one of the best things about my job, to be honest with you. And it makes all of the pain and labor and, processes, worthwhile, so it's really lovely.
The trick is to not overthink it, is what I learned.
Don't overthink it. Just go for it. Yeah. Walk first, speak later.
Yeah. Did you ever meet anyone who made you starstruck, or is there someone who when you're going to meet someone and that's it?
I was at the Cannes Film Festival once. We were at the after party for a film called Foxcatcher. Mm-hmm. And there was this triangle of incredible women, okay? And the triangle, the first person that I spoke to was Jane Campion, who's the director of The Piano, which is my favorite film ever made. Yeah, The Piano is amazing. And she also made Top of the Lake. And I was talking to Jane and she was wonderful and I had a beautiful time. And then I moved over to Sofia Coppola and she was lovely and had a great time. But then my boyfriend was like, okay, don't freak out. And I was like, why? He goes, Jessica Chastain is 10 meters behind you, 8 meters behind you, 6 meters behind you, 4 meters to me. Okay, Jessica Chastain's behind you. And I just turned around and I went, Jessica, I love you so much. Hi, I'm Alix. And she was like, oh, hey, it's so nice to meet you. Like, she was so beautiful and elegant and like draped in this gorgeous silk purple fabric. And I just remember, like, she smelled amazing and she looked amazing and she was so beautiful and she was so nice. And like, we spoke for a solid 10 minutes. I think maybe she thought I was important because I was in the VIP area at the Cannes Film Festival for the after party of the film. So I think she thought I was important. And obviously I really am not, nor was I at the time in relation to the film. But she was so nice. And then as we were leaving, she went, I really hope we get to work together one day. And I was like, oh, me too. And just as she said that, she went, I really do. And then she like took my face in her hands and kissed me on the cheek. And it was single-handedly the greatest moment of my life ever. And I can honestly say I've been kissed by Jessica Chastain, sorry, and nothing before or since has ever compared. So it was magic. Yes, that I was fully starstruck. And I think I'd feel starstruck again. I'd just be like, I love you so much. You'd be like, oh, hey, it's so nice to see you. You're the crazy girl. So yeah, Jess Chastain is my homie.
Oh, God.
Or I like to think she is.
That sounds amazing. Let's start with voice acting and go into the beginning of times, so to speak. How did you get in? Was that because obviously you were an actress, you studied acting. How did you kind of discover that voice acting was a thing?
I think desperation was what led me to voice acting. Well, actually, it was twofold. first fold is I was living the very classic graduate actress life of I'd just left drama school and I was more of a waitress than I was an actress at that point in time. On top of that, when we'd been at drama school, there is a very famous like radio competition here in the UK run by BBC Radio. And it goes out to all the drama schools, and each drama school in the UK selects 4 students to represent them at this national competition. I was one of the 4 students selected to represent my school at the BBC Radio Carlton Hobbs competition. I went and I was honoured with 2 awards at the time, Best Shakespearean Monologue and Best Contemporary Duologue. Basically, it just sort of like, I was waitressing, I was exhausted, I wasn't happy. And then I remembered like, oh, yeah, there's like a whole other avenue that we did at drama school, and I actually did quite well in it. So maybe I should look into that, you know? It was really a matter of like hard work, you know, in terms of getting started. Like, there isn't a magic wand, you know, no one can sort of wave a magic wand and make it better for you. I had to, you know, I spent like a week just researching different voiceover agencies and then reaching out to voice actors and saying, you know, how do I even approach an agency about representation? What do they want, you know? And then I was told I had to have a voice reel. So I set about looking up voiceover companies and getting a voice reel together. And when that was all done, again, it was another long, I think it was like 18 months. And every 6 months I did a huge mail out, you know, to like 20 different companies, the top 20 voiceover agencies in London, saying, hey, I'm looking for a voiceover agent. Hey, and rejected. I mean, more rejections than I could count. And on the last mail out, one person wrote to me and said, yeah, we'd like to interview you. And I met with them, and the rest, as they say, is history. You know, they sent me in, started sending me in for auditions, and the first ever video game job that I did was Dragon Age Origins. That was my first ever role. And, you know, maybe why I will forever feel grateful to the BioWare family for bringing me in and then having me back, you know, like time and time again. It was pretty amazing. Yeah.
I'll get back to the Dragon Age Origins because I think that's really fascinating. But
yeah,
I was, so Frida Wolf of Mass Effect Andromeda fame.
Yes.
She is a really fascinating, interesting person, and I listened to a lot of her interviews about voice acting because I think she just talks about it in such a great and approachable way. And one of the things that always stuck to me in what she said, and kind of it corresponds to what you're saying, there is no magic wand, but she was talking about, you know, there's internet out there. Go and search, like, you want to do something about it. Like, before people had to, I don't know, scour books, ask people, have connections. Right now, you can go on web, and if you really want to, you can find out what you need and how to do it. And I don't know, I think it's just such a great thing for anyone who wants to start in voice acting, that this is something they could just start doing if they really want to.
Absolutely. I mean, it's hard work. Don't get me wrong. It's really hard getting started, and it's incredibly tough being an actor, you know, in terms of job insecurity, not knowing where your next paycheck's coming from, not knowing where your next job is. That is really tough. But I personally do believe that the combination of hard work, talent, and persistence, like, that pays off. You know, it really pays off. It always has with me. Anyway, there wasn't like a secret. I just kept going with the voiceover, and that was it, you know? And then, of course, I was very fortunate that I started young. The market wasn't as flooded as it is today. And I was just incredibly lucky that I had some very kind, generous studios here in the UK take me under their wing. They really helped me build a career, you know, in the voiceover market. And I'll forever be grateful to those studios that had me in and kind of kept calling me back, really.
BioWare, the first ever job, then becoming the Inquisitor.
I know. So lucky. I am. I'm so lucky. I still think about how lucky I am. I don't take it for granted, you know. I feel very lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. Just talk to me a little bit through the process. So when kind of they gave you I think it's Dragon Age Origins and then Awakening, I think, and then something for Dragon Age 2, if that's correct?
Yes. And then eventually they called me in to audition for the role of the Inquisitor.
Did you know it was going to be the role of the
No,
Inquisitor
I
at the
had
time?
no idea. I'm always the last person to understand what anything is, by the way. It's actually pathetic. So many times I'll go in for a game or a secret project or whatever, And I'll walk in and they'll be like, so, obviously, you know that this is for the new Assassin's Creed. And I'll be like, what? Shut up! Shut up! Are you serious? And I'll be saying that to the casting director and they're like, yeah, so, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so exciting! What? And, exactly the same thing happened with Dragon Age. I remember hilariously going into the studio on a recall, not even on like the first audition, I don't think, and the voice director talking to me down the telephone and being like, so obviously you've worked out what this is now, I'll assume. And I went, nope. She was like, oh, well, isn't it obvious? I was like, nope. She goes, it's for the new Dragon Age. And I was like, oh, great. And she goes, yeah, it's for the lead role. And I was like, sorry, what? What did you say? She was like, yeah, we're auditioning you for the lead, Alex. And I was like, what? No one tells me anything in this industry, God damn it. And, it's true. No one does. But it's very exciting when you finally work out what a project is, you know? It'd be nice to know sooner, of course, because then you have more ammunition, as it were, you know, and you can better devise and work out how you want to play a character and where that character might sit in the series and so on and so forth. But yeah, you know, it's always wonderful when you work out what a project is.
Yeah, I guess part of it is that they have to keep secrets so under wraps that they are worried about even like a little tiny thing. But then I'm interested, like, in terms, I guess absolutely differs from project to project, but in your sort of experience, how much information, say you come for the first session and they go, okay, so this is the character's name, this is the line. I mean, how much else do they give you, like, to start on, to latch on the character?
It really depends. It varies hugely from game to game. Sometimes, okay, so like one example is they might give you an entirely fake script. Entirely fake. That has nothing to do with the project, but it has the same characteristics of the character, like strength or leadership or power, which is very often the sort of roles that I end up playing as the sort of female hero roles. And sometimes they'll show you a picture of them, which is always really helpful, in particular in PC games where you can't adapt the way that your character looks. That will often be a locked character, so you'll see what they look like. That's really helpful. In the case of Aya as well, they could show us pretty early on what she looked like. And of course, Aya was a really unique project, but you know, even when I went in for that, it was a code name, it was a fake script, it was a different, she wasn't called Aya. I can't even remember what she was called in the audition. Probably Susan or something completely like that throws you way off. You know, or maybe Jenny or something like that. Every production company that I work with is super secretive. It just varies in their levels of secrecy. Is it, you know, do they show you a picture? Yes or no? Do you sign an NDA? Yes or no? Is it a real script or a fake script? Yes or no? Is this the real name or a code name? Yes or no? It's all this kind of stuff, and it varies hugely, to be honest.
It's funny for me because I've started with Bioware games in many understanding of many people backwards, because everyone knows Mass Effect. If people even haven't played it, they know about Mass Effect.
Yeah.
I played Dragon Age Inquisition first, and it was my first Bioware game. And it's the first time I played anything.
It's the best game. You just skip to the best. That's fine.
I know. I agree with that. It's still my favorite game. I can't help it.
It's brilliant.
And it just so happened that my husband, he does a podcast about video games, so he got the game because he's like, I'm going to talk about it. But he was like, I think you're going to like it. Take this game and play it. And whenever new things come to me, I look at it for a month. I'm like, will I like it? Will I not like it? Will I like it? Will I not like it? So obviously, I loved it and played it. And afterwards, I was like, I need more. I need more. So he's like, okay, here you go, darling, Mass Effect. While you're waiting for all the Dragon Age DLC. So,
well, they've just announced a Dragon Age 4, so, your prayers have been answered, haven't they?
Fingers crossed. Oh,
yeah.
God.
I saw that on Twitter the other day, so yeah.
I have so many questions about... to the world about Dragon Age 4. I'm hooked. I'm so invested in the future of that franchise. But yes, what I was leading to is that I met Traynor after I heard you play, I heard you playing as an Inquisitor. So for me, it was a very different experience because I knew you were in Mass Effect somewhere, but no one really told me when. So when she showed up, I was like, oh, that's my Inquisitor, but she sounds a bit different because obviously different intonations, different
accents. Different accent for Traynor as well.
But that's my Inquisitor, but obviously Traynor kind of is developed character, whereas Inquisitor is more of a player character. So I'm guessing there's different roles to approaching it, having all the background for Traynor and being sort of, I don't know, trying to be more neutral for Inquisitor? I don't know. Is that correct?
So you mean as in because Traynor has multiple options, but because the Inquisitor is playable, was that more neutralized? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Do you know what? I would say, well, for me, just to answer that, I would say no is the honest truth, because I think all characters, not just the Inquisitor, I think all characters are about energy. And I really work in terms of energy and physicality. Where is the energy of the character coming from? Does it come from their head? Does it come from their throat? Does it come from their heart and their chest? Or are they a stomach person, you know, walking stomach out? Or maybe it's guts and they're working from their guts. Or maybe it's like way down below, you know, down there. But it's like, you know, we all have different energy centers that humans work from naturally. And I think that's how I tend to think of my characters. You know, what are their feet doing? Are they rooted to the earth and stomping forward through life? Or are they high and flighty and running away and so on and so forth? You know, what are they doing with their hands? So I tend to put, even when I'm in the booth, I tend to put a lot of energy into my physicality. It can be rather funny. I think if you confer with engineers across London who have seen me perform in the booth, I am very energetic. In fact, one day I really need to film it and like put it out there.
Yes, please.
Yeah, no, I do for sure. I think of characters in terms of energy, and I think Traynor had a much more London accent. She was super bright, super clever, far cleverer than I will ever be in my real life. But, you know, there were still different options in terms of, was she talking to femshep or male shep? And then with the Inquisitor, it was really all about having like a very regal, chest expanded, grounded to the earth strength about her, and like a knowingness in terms of moving her forward, even when she was confused. You know, she's still the Inquisitor. She still has to move forwards with the story. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And at points, yes, keeping it neutral. But what I love about BioWare, you know, one of the reasons it is one of the greatest companies is they give you guys options. That's the point. You know, it is your game completely tailored to you. I think that's a wonderful gift to give an audience. With that, I sort of embrace the fact that your Inquisitor will be different to your husband's Inquisitor, will be different to Joe Blogg's Inquisitor, will be different to someone else's Inquisitor. Does that sort of make sense?
Yeah,
a little
absolutely.
bit? Just working in terms of energy. Yeah.
With Traynor, I think one of my favorite scenes with her of all time, and I don't know, I don't know, you don't even speak at that moment, but I think the build up to that scene with everything that happened, you know, in that it comes together so perfectly. It's in this little DLC where she just holds her toothbrush. And I don't think I've laughed so much in my life when that came up, because at that point I think we know everything we need to, like, this is the brilliant thing and why I love BioWare characters so much. I think you know everything you need to know about that character at that point, that by the time that pays off or that joke comes, you're like, right, I get it immediately.
Yeah. No, I mean, I thought the DLC was brilliant, I have to say.
So good.
Especially, like, it was so funny. You know, I don't think I've never recorded such a humor-filled DLC as that, ever. Yeah. For sure. You know, for sure.
It was so nice. Especially, again, I played it after did I play it after the whole game? I don't remember, but it was such a kind of breath of fresh air that I thought it was one of their best DLCs that they've ever done.
Yeah. For sure, well. I agree.
I think I gotta ask about romances because we can't talk about BioWare without asking about romances.
Yeah.
One of the tricky questions I have, so whenever I play these games, I remember kicking my husband out of the room because I was like, I know there is a romantic scene coming out. I don't want you to be here because I'm a little bit I don't know why, but get a little bit embarrassed. It's not really you, it's the character. And it's not really, you know, the other part doesn't exist. And I do joke about all my, you know, BioWare boyfriends like they're a real thing. But I'm wondering, I don't know, do you get, I don't want to say embarrassed, but a little bit maybe shy about recording, especially some stuff in Dragon Age Inquisition with Bull. Oh my
god, are you serious? Babe, I had to get the engineer and the director to switch off the lights in the studio when we were recording that, so no one could see me, okay? I was like, and they were like, Alix, you know we can hear. I'm like, that is not the point. The point is that you can't see me. So I don't want anyone to see me at this point. That was very funny. That made everyone laugh. Yes, I do get shy and I do get embarrassed. Of course, sex normally happens behind closed doors, not in radio booths, So yeah, it's also immensely fun because it's a great story to tell as well. It is funny.
Not to pick your favorite. I don't want to say favorite romance because I think it's really unfair for everyone, but maybe kind of favorite moment in one or two of them that sort of stands out to you all the years afterwards.
Well, I would say there are 3 that stand out. So one would be actually not from Dragon Age, but actually as Traynor with Femshep, because I just felt so proud to be playing a lesbian. That might sound strange, but I just mean insofar as it was a female-female relationship. Yeah. That was it. That was about as interesting as it got, by which I mean it wasn't Traynor's defining characteristic. Sorry, I should say it wasn't Traynor's defining characteristic. Yes, she was gay, and so what? She had more important things to do, like try and save everyone's life and find her toothbrush at the same time, or at least buy a new one, So, and it was super emotional by the time we got to the end with Traynor and Shepard and Femshep, And I think with that emotional quality, it was just a very beautiful love story between them. So I'd say that I still remember because I remember playing that. And then the Iron Bull stuff, I definitely remember because I was just blushing bright red like a tomato. And then the Sarah one as well because of the cookies. And the cookies made me laugh, and her trying to woo me with cookies, or I was wooing her with cookies. I can't remember. And then I had to run out to reception and get real cookies so I could bring cookies in the studio. And in bringing in the cookies in the studio, I could perform the scene with real cookies, and I was really eating, and it was just, I remember all of that, So that was all quite funny. And then of course, Solus, the traitor.
Tell me about it.
Tell me about it. But yeah, so I suppose those 4 stick out, they stick out. Yeah. And Cullen was gorgeous, man. Cullen was fit as hell. Cullen is a fit character. They all stand out in different ways, really, I suppose is the truth.
I had a funny moment. I'm going to say I made my other friend play Dragon Age Inquisition, but she was a willing victim, let's be honest here. I was going for Dragon Age Withdrawal, so we were living at the time, so she would go on my PlayStation and play it for a couple of hours, and I would watch her. There was a point where I was just telling her about all the options in the game, and she was set on romancing Cullen. And it was going to happen. And I told her just for fun, I was like, look, you can go out in the Fate, make out with Solus, don't stick with too long because he's my man. And then you can come back and break up with him and still date Cullen. It'll be fine. Yeah. So she's like, oh, fine. Just so you can see your character make out with Solus again, I'll do this. It's gonna be fine. So she does this. The weird thing happens is that she breaks up with Solus and she goes up to Cullen. And Cullen's like, oh no, I don't really want to do it. You're in a relationship. I don't want to, do anything that's inappropriate with you. And I felt so bad. I thought that one decision somehow messed up her whole thing. Now she won't be able to see the romance with Cullen through and through. And there came I immediately went on the internet. How can I correct it? What can I do? Eventually, it turned out that Solus had nothing to do with it. That a very sneaky Blackwell, from one conversation, just assumed things. And the game let her up in the relationship. She was able to proceed with Cullen, and they lived happily ever after, of course.
That's very funny.
Yeah. So
that's very funny.
Did not get the same fate with Solus. Speaking of, I don't know if speaking of Trespasser is the right segue, but is it something you're gonna assume that it's something that you recorded afterwards, after you recorded the main game and the other DLCs, and they asked you to come back in to record something for that?
Yes, for Trespasser. Yeah, that's exactly what they did. And that was a hell of a lot of fun as well. For sure, that would be up there. I've always had very good experiences on my DLCs. I would say for all games, really, across all games. But that was definitely a good experience, yeah, for sure.
Is it something easy now? Can you jump into the skin of Inquisitor? Is it something that comes naturally to you right back in?
I hope so. I mean, I like to think so. I like to think that I could, if I wanted to, jump back in with all of my characters. That's, that's what I'd like. But the beautiful thing, the joy of modern technology is that you can step into a studio and they will of course have your previous recordings. So they're like, they play you what's called a match file. And then you repeat it back to them oh my lord, I don't know. For Aya, it would be I can't remember what my Aya sentence is. I'll just make one up.
Go for it.
I'll just make one up. You and I are pledged to violence for now and always. Like, and maybe they would said, like, if that was my match file, I could walk into the studio and they could play that to me. And then it means that no matter what I've been doing, I can pick that up, basically. And then I hopefully just jump straight back into it.
I want to ask you just your experience, because that last scene with Solas, incidentally. Yeah. I think that's the first and only time I ever cried playing a video game, and I had to walk away for a month and not play
I cried. Oh. It was horrible. It was really upsetting. Yeah, it was really upsetting. You are not alone, hon. You are not alone.
Good.
You know, I cried as well. So yeah.
When you record, is it sometimes do you record first and someone else records with your audio, or does it, I mean, how does it work? Because I honestly can't, obviously I'm not an actress, so I can't even begin to imagine what it's like. But I imagine for the intense scenes like this, you kind of want to have someone, I don't know, maybe talking to you or something like that.
Yeah,
how do you even get to that
you would
level?
like to, but unfortunately, I mean, I would like to, but unfortunately not, is the truth. I think with that scene, I'm trying to remember specifically, this is going back a few years. I mean, we work, and we are lucky to work with wonderful directors in London who can read in for us. And then the most fantastic voiceover director from BioWare, who's a woman called Caroline Livingstone. And she will very often dial into the sessions and read in the other lines, and she will know how the scene's going to be played, and she will know what direction the scene's going to go in. So it's nice to have someone there to bounce off, but very rarely is it actually the other actor. So
I'm going to assume it helps a little bit if they are.
It does, but I can't. I think the only times I've really done that are in Assassin's Creed, to be honest. Right. And that was because we filmed it. You know, that was all done from, that was done from performance capture. Mm-hmm. So we're in the suits with the funny helmets, and and it was me and Abu, you know, dicking about, having a great time. I think that's one of the only times I've really done it. And for the big emotional stuff, I just end up crying by myself in a booth, you know.
I cry by myself in my bedroom. It's fine. I get it.
Good woman. Good woman. Good woman. That's what I like to hear.
I don't know if you can answer this, but I'm going to ask you to speculate rather than to answer.
Okay, go for it.
Say Dragon Age 4 is happening.
Yes.
Inquisitor. I mean, would you like to play her again? Do you think she might return?
Back. I would absolutely love to come back and play her again. I have not been asked. I'm allowed to say that because nothing's happened. I haven't been asked to come back. I haven't heard from them yet. I may never.
Early on, though.
And also, you know, this is the life of an actor, is I might not hear from them. That could be it. You know, cut. That could be it. You never know. But of course, if they invited me back, I'd love to. Partly, it's really threefold with BioWare. First of all, you work with the best people. Everyone is lovely. Everyone is nice. It feels like you are part of a big family. And that is a beautiful thing to experience as an actor, because you can often be so alone and so lonely in this job. The second thing is the writing. The writing is fucking incredible. The writing is fucking incredible. I love BioWare writing. Everyone knows I love the writing of BioWare. And the third thing is the gift of being given a role to play as a woman that is as prominent, as powerful, as potent, and as important as the Inquisitor. That does not come along often. Yeah. You know, it is far more common for men to be given those roles than women. And if they're offering me the Inquisitor again, knowing who she is, of course, in a heartbeat, you know. Yeah. And more power to BioWare for leading the way with all of that, you know, and wanting to be these people, really. More power to them.
I was going to add, it's really funny. I've played a lot of games, but it wasn't until BioWare games that I really started to actually noticing voice actors and kind of researching to find out, because I think on top of that, they do that as well, you know, that they kind of promote them, they celebrate them, that they're there with the material and the work and all the rest of others. But I do think now it's more common, you know, we all know like Nathan Drake and all that kind of stuff like that. We know CeCe Jones, some of the more famous voice actors, but I do think at least for me, it was one of the cases where the first time I was like, this is fantastic, just work all together, you know, the writing, the voice work. Who are these people who are doing this? I want to find out more. I want to find out more games that they're in. And
I completely agree with everything you just said.
Woo!
Completely.
Points
Yeah, but they led the way. They really did. And more power to them.
Okay, I wanted to talk a little bit about Aya.
Yes.
I am playing Assassin's Creed Origins at the moment.
Where are you up to? Just so I know, without giving any spoilers to anyone listening, if you can do that. No pressure.
I'll try my best. So here's the thing. I started playing before we set up this interview.
Okay.
And when we were talking through it, I was like, well, I better get going, so I can ask insightful and good questions about Aya. And so I played, and I was like, I want to kind of try to get an understanding of where I am in the game. So I don't know if you know, but on YouTube, there is a whole kind of Aya movie film where it's just cutscenes with Aya.
Thank you to whoever made that, by the way. I love you. You're fabulous. You can come again. You're always going to be invited to the party. If this person is listening to this who cut the Aya movie, tweet me, please, so I can thank you personally.
Yeah, because I don't know if you know, Aya's quite popular.
I love her. The people love her. We need more of her. That's all I'd say. She's brilliant. So, sorry, go on. So where are you in the movie?
So the movie is about 1 hour, and it's just the cutscenes with Aya.
Yes.
I look from it, I'm only 25 minutes in.
Good woman.
And I've played for about 10 hours, so I'm not even close. I think I've just defeated the lizard, so I'm going beyond then. So.
I know exactly where you are. I remember shooting that stuff with the lizard.
Yeah.
I remember shooting the stuff where I'm talking to Abu, aka Bayek, aka my husband, about the lizard. Yeah, that's very funny.
Brilliant, man. Yeah. And you know what? They instantly think, obviously, I don't know what develops further in their relationship, but the instant thing that stand out to me about their relationship, which I think is just some of the best things, best written pair in the video game that I've ever seen, is that they are, in a sense, complete equals, and they're independent, but they're together, they make their own choices, they decide together, but then they're like, okay, I'm gonna go off and do my stuff, you go off and do your stuff, and they're completely fine with it, and I think when the relationship
Sign of a healthy relationship.
Yeah, right?
Sign of a healthy relationship. Yeah,
absolutely. It's just incredibly equal, so kudos to all of you, to the writing team, and to you guys for acting it, and
for sure. They're they are, Aya and Bayek are the ultimate hashtag relationship goals. They are a power couple to be reckoned with on a scale of Jay-Z and Beyonce. Yeah, I said it. Aya and Bayek are basically the Jay-Z and Beyonce of ancient Egypt. Okay? And you can suck it up if you don't like it. They're completely brilliant, and they are each other's equal. And Abu and I always saw them as equals, and I know I can speak for him as well on this. He loves Bayek and I love Aya, and because of that, we always want to make it as good as we just had such a good synergy working together, and we always wanted to make it as good as possible for both. We really brought our A game on that one, and it was a pleasure. In fact, it was more than a pleasure. It was an honor. It was the same feeling that was instilled in me with things like Sam Traynor and the Inquisitor. It was an honor. It was a real honor, and I know how lucky I am to have played her for sure.
What is the best thing that you like about her?
What do I like about her?
There's many things. This is why I'm saying the best.
There are many things. There are many things. There will be something that you discover at the end, which is quite incredible about Aya, which I can't tell you what it is, but you will know what that thing is when you know what that thing is. And trust me, you'll know what that thing is when you meet it. And that is my favorite thing about Aya.
Yeah.
And I can't say, and anyone who's listening to this podcast will know what I'm talking about. So if they've gotten to the end of the game, that is my favorite thing about Aya. And then my other favorite things about Aya, her relationship with Bayek. I think it's beautiful, She's so fearless, Aya. She's a fucking lioness, She's a lioness. She's our lioness, She's your lioness when you're playing the game. She's my lioness because I got to play her. She's a lioness, and she's powerful. She's so potently alive, Every time I was playing Aya at the end of filming, I was exhausted at the end of every day, and even though I was exhausted, I was so happy. I was blissfully drained because I poured so much energy into performing her that day, as I did every day. And I loved that. Even in the scenes where Abu and I are just standing there in the court listening to someone else like Zora Bishop, who plays Cleopatra, even if we're just standing there listening, I was listening with such intensity, you know, and I was like, I was really pouring all of my energy into my face and my muscles and my intonations, because I was, you know, helping the computer to capture the information. You want to give the computer as much information as possible so that it can capture it and turn it into a beautiful performance, you know, at the other end. She's a hell of a gal, that Aya. You know, what a goddess. She's a goddess.
She is.
She's a goddess, you know? So, yeah.
Actually, interesting for me. Is it harder to voice act with motion capture, or is it just like a different sort of challenge that sort of in the same ballpark?
Yeah, I think it's just different is what I'd say. So like, obviously it's more cumbersome, but it's more fun doing performance capture. So it's like a real oxymoron, right? Because it's cumbersome because you're in these funny suits where you can't hide anything, including last night's cheeseburger. And you have like a huge battery pack on your back, and you've got this huge camera that's in the way that you could kill someone with if you whipped your head round too quickly. So that, in some ways, it's cumbersome, but then it's more fun because I felt so much more in control of the character, and I loved that. You know, that gave me a lot of freedom and a lot of power and a lot of hope, I guess, you know, because it was my face and my body and my voice. It was all coming together. Whereas in the booth, I am constrained to, you know, a 6x6 room, for example. You know, my face isn't being captured. My body's not being captured. So you're performing a lot with one instrument, which is your voice, but you don't get as much say over the final parts, you know? So it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. They're different, you know, they're different. And some days when it was really difficult, or there would be technical difficulties, or the scene was difficult, or sometimes you think, oh God, just shove me in a booth for a few hours and I'll give you some magic. You know, come on, let's take off these silly outfits, you know, and just go do some magic. But on the whole, I really loved it, and I can't wait to do it again. So yeah, it'll be great. Especially as I know what I'm doing now. I actually know what I'm doing, so yeah.
Was it hard to do the accent, by the way?
Yes, it was. But thank God we had an accent coach there the whole time, helping us. And then you do sort of get into the rhythm of it and the swing of things. And obviously, like, Abu had a much bigger part than me, so he was doing a lot more words and texts and dialogues. So there'd be days where I was like, Abu, just give me a line reading. Just hit me with it, babe. Just hit me. Just give me the whole thing. And he's like, no, you can do it. I'm like, Abu, just hit me. Just give me a line reading. And he'd go like, dum, you know, with whatever the line was like. And he was really sweet and really helpful getting me back into the space as well.
Oh, I love this is a story that, you know, I and Bayek's relationships translated into a very lovely relationship for the voice actors.
Oh,
too.
we adore each other. We absolutely adore him. He's my new favorite thing to happen from 2017. So yeah, he's my new favorite thing from 2017.
We need a lot of good things to happen in 2017.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before we sort of wrap it up, I wanted to talk about Play for Calais, because I think it's a really fantastic organization. Can you explain in your own words what it is and what you guys do?
So I founded Play for Calais in December 2015, in response to the incredibly shameful lack of government response that the UK government was exhibiting towards refugees who had arrived in Calais and had set up their own makeshift refugee camp called the Jungle. That's what they called it. That's not what we called it. The residents built the camp, and it was like a small community, and they called it the Jungle. And, you know, I was sort of sitting there from the comfort and privilege of my home in London, completely baffled that this could be happening on my doorstep 3 hours away. You know, 3 hours to drive to Calais from my house. It is literally closer to me than Manchester, you know? And I thought, how can this be happening? So anyway, I set up an Amazon gift list for people to buy presents on for the kids. And I started a fundraising page, and I got a gang of people together along with myself. And a week later, we drove into the camp with Christmas presents for the kids that were living in the camp and a pop-up cinema. And we started screening pop-up cinema to the residents of the camp that were living there. This was hugely popular, and Play for Calais sort of grew and built. And in April 2016, we built a football pitch in the camp on some demolished ground where homes had previously stood, but the French government unfortunately demolished them. So we wanted to bring a bit of joy back, and we built a football pitch. And then obviously the camp was entirely demolished in October 2016. Thousands of people were made homeless. I think it's 230 children went missing and have not been seen again since that happened. Yeah, and they will have been presumably trafficked or taken into some sort of slavery, you know, whether it is a sort of sexual slavery or domestic slavery. There are 200 plus children who are now unaccounted for since the demolition of the jungle, because bad people will do bad things to vulnerable children, unfortunately. But Play for Calais has kept going, and we focus more on projects here in the UK now. We do have some people who will still go over to Calais to do a sort of just a sort of almost like a compassionate run, you know, where you go, you meet people, you give them tea, you talk to people, you just treat them like a human being, which they are. Our tagline, or our sort of motto is providing a humanitarian response to a humanitarian crisis. That's what I want us to do. I want us to provide a humanitarian response to a humanitarian crisis, which is what this is. And within that, we aim to be a light in the dark. You know, these people are going through really, really dark, horrible, traumatizing times. And if we can just bring a moment of joy, you know, a football game, a cinema screening, a concert, a cup of tea, some clean shoes for you, you know, nappies for your baby. If we can give you this, then why the hell not? You know, so that's kind of us. We're very small. We're very grassroots. We're very humble. We're not one of the big people, but we just quietly get on with doing what we're doing. Yeah.
What if other people wanted to help the program in some way? What kind of some of the things that they could do?
So I think there are some really practical and easy things that people do. Like you could donate money to Play for Calais, for example, which is PLAY, then the number 4, and then calais.org. And if you go to our website, playforcalais.org, there's a donate button, so you can donate us money. And we're all volunteers, so everything that you donate goes to direct action. No one takes a salary. You could follow and support organizations like Play for Calais online, or the MENA Centre, who are our partners, or people that we help out up in Birmingham. Also Help Refugees is obviously very famous, very well known, very loved, hugely respected. They're the people with the Choose Love slogan. You can donate to them. You can do things like donate to your local food bank, you know, on your weekly shop, just buy 5 extra tins of food, you know, a can of soup, some tomatoes, some beans, whatever, and give them to a food bank, because we've got huge amounts of refugees and asylum seekers, you know, who are dependent on food bank because they get nothing, you know. Seek out your local befriending organizations. You know, maybe there's a church near you or a community center that holds meet and greets, you know, so you can go along to them and come face to face with refugees who have finally made it here, and asylum seekers who are seeking sanctuary here. And they want to make friends, you know, they want to play football with someone. They want to know how things work in the UK. There are lots of primary schools that have extracurricular programs for children who've arrived. Maybe their English or maths isn't so good. I actually used to volunteer in one myself. And you can go and give up 2 afternoons a week for 2 hours at a time and go and help some kids learn to read and write and integrate into society. There's loads of things that we can be doing. We just have to seek them out and be a bit more proactive. And unfortunately, we need to fill the holes that our government isn't, you know, take up the slack. Yeah.
Can you tell the website, and maybe does it have a Twitter account as well that people can follow?
Yeah. So at Play and then the number 4 Calais. And then the website is www.play and then the number 4 calais.org.
Yeah. So go check it out, join, look, see what you can do, because I think it's really important, and it's a big issue that's not really being answered by anyone with enough, responsibility. The people who should be responsible for this are not doing that. Alix, can you tease something? I don't know. What are the upcoming projects that you would maybe want to mention to promote, or something else that give us a little tease of where we can hear you or see you next?
So I am currently recording Vermintide 2. We're in the middle of doing that, which is a Warhammer game. And I am getting ready to do a short theatre piece called What If Women Ruled the World, which will be on in Berlin in April. If there's anyone that follows me, I was doing it in Denmark last year in November, and we are transferring to Berlin, which will be fabulous. And there is a film coming out later this year called The Wife, which stars Glenn Close and Jonathan Pryce in the lead, and I have the incredible privilege of playing their daughter. So you can catch that. And there's other like little bits and bobs simmering at the way. They're cooking. I'm stirring pots and adding spices and things like that is how I would describe it.
Exciting. Okay. I'm looking forward to all of that.
Thank you.
Obviously, we can follow you at Alix Wilton Regan on Twitter.
Yes, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm on all of them. It's always at Alix Wilton Regan. Keep it simple, you know?
Yeah, I wish it was so simple with my name, but it's not.
Yeah.
No, I'm not complaining. I like my name. It's fine. Anyway, Alix, thank you so much for coming on the show. I absolutely had a blast.
Thank
Dream
you.
come true
I've
interview,
really
and so much fun talking to you, and you're welcome to come back anytime.
Thank you. I'd love to. When there's the next big project that comes out that you're interested in, feel free to drop me a line and let me know what you think of the end of Assassin's Creed as well.
When
you get there.
I will do. I'm actually so looking forward to getting back into it because I got so hooked.
Brilliant.
And as soon as you get hooked, you run out of, you become really busy, so I'm currently very annoyed that I can't play more, but I'm loving what I'm playing, and yes, as I said to you in the email, Aya is indeed everything.
Brilliant. I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you for having me, Alix.
Thank you very much, and thank you to everyone for listening. Goodbye.
Bye.
You and your ears are quite welcome for the podcasting goodness that you just heard. Why not roll on over to BigRedBarel.com for more podcasts, news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet, BigRedBarel.com.